I watched Rainbow's End this morning, and like I said, you're great in it. You pop on screen. I think you
Oh,
definitely
that's good.
bring a spark. You bring a spark to the movie,
Oh, I'm
in every scene
glad.
you're
I'm
in.
glad to hear that. That's
So, I
always
mean,
nice to hear.
for you, I guess, can you just talk a little bit about the types of roles you go out for or get offered now, and what was it about this one in particular that really appealed to you?
Well, um, I, I get offered stuff, but I don't always take the role. I what I like is taking roles about nice people. I kind of have a rule that I don't want to play anyone that I wouldn't want in my house, you know?
Hmm.
Like I don't, I just turned this other one down and it was like an evil grandma of Hansel and Gretel. And I just thought, oh, and at the end, she's like cutting off the kids' toes and everything. And I just went, no, no, I'm not doing that. So in a way, I don't really want to do a lot of heavy drama anymore because I have done that and
Yeah.
I can do it, but there'd have to be a significant reason to do it, that like an important movie that would be worth it. Because when you put that kind of energy in, it's very draining and you're always sort of waiting for the difficult scenes to show up.
Hmm.
And you just want to get through them. Um, I like comedy the best and I like lightheartedness and I like playing people that I actually like.
I feel like this character is a bit like you too. I mean, I don't know you personally, but just seeing interviews with you through the years, you're very outspoken, you're funny, and I feel like you get that from that in this as well.
People have said I'm outspoken, but if you'll notice, I mean, I certainly would have throughout my career skipped the interview portion of it if I had been allowed to.
Mm,
I mean, and what I didn't know in my early career was very, very good self-preservation skills. So I'm really not that outspoken. I'm just not a bullshit artist. You know what I
well,
mean? Like I'm
I
just
was
not
gonna
a
say,
bullshitter.
compared to the rest of the industry,
Yeah,
you are a
for
different
sure.
breed, and
More
I
authentic.
appreciate that. Nat in this movie, she really is there for advice. She doesn't bullshit people. She tells it like it is too. Who has been that for you? Has there been someone who has really been there to offer you advice when you needed it, or maybe
Well,
been a cheerleader for you?
yeah, my sister Kathleen and
Yeah.
Bob, my husband, and believe it or not, my children are very good at telling me what they think, what their opinion is, and they're not aggressive and saying like you have to see it my way. They're just like this is my opinion, and
Yeah.
So I feel like I think I did a good thing when you just try to take responsibility for yourself and you don't smother other people and you allow them to make their mistakes, and try to do so in as non-judgmental a way as possible,
Mm.
yet keeping your boundaries intact. That was always hard for me too. I'd go into boundary failure and be like, and then I'd have to sort of work my way back and realize like that's not their responsibility, that's mine, or vice versa. Like that's not my job, that's their job.
Mm. And has there ever been anyone, I guess, also in the industry side of things, either co-star, director, producers, anyone in the crew that has kind of given you a piece of advice that has really rung true or that you maybe still carry with you?
Well, mostly I've been the giver of advice, I have to
Yeah.
confess. Warren Beatty once told me to shut up in the press, and I should have probably listened. But he's not the type of guy I want to take his advice of.
Oh.
So.
No, and I was rewatching your infamous Joan Rivers interview just to prepare for this, and it's also been 30 years now this summer, which I think is wild.
I
But
think that's
even
wild too, isn't it? It's so like, wow.
even Joan brings that up during the interview, though, that like, hey, you should take this advice and stop talking. And
So
it's just
much.
like,
Yeah. And I said, well, I know, but it's too late now. But
it's like just rewatching that and seeing a lot of what you talked about then and how relevant it still is now. I mean, you mentioned how actors need to be in these big blockbusters so that they have the freedom to do indie work. We see that now with people doing these Marvel movies, how
Yeah.
women aren't allowed to be angry in the industry, and how you vowed never to be quiet about issues that are important to you. And it's like,
Yeah. I don't think it
what?
did me much good though. I mean, in a sense. I mean, I don't have any regrets. That's true. But
Yeah.
the my strategy as a in my 20s and in my 30s, it was very missing because I just, like I said, I didn't have those kind of preservation skills. I didn't know how to censor myself at all.
Yeah, but I think part of it's also the culture. It's like I think you can't put it, obviously can't put it on yourself when the 80s and
Well,
90s were even more so misogynistic than they are now.
yeah, they definitely were. Yeah.
That doc, it brought up a lot of just old media coverage, and a lot of people I think have started to see how much they were part of the problem. And I'm sure that's something that
Wow.
you have experienced too, just like, there are people that are actually apologizing to people like Paris Hilton, Britney Spears for the coverage that they
Really?
did back in the day.
Wow. Like who? Who's
uh,
apologizing?
like Sarah Silverman apologized for jokes that
The
she made.
comedian?
Yep, comedians are
Oh
apologizing.
my
I think
goodness.
a lot of it is being held accountable for stuff they said in a way that they weren't back then. But have people ever come to you and maybe apologized for how you were treated or how they treated you back in the day?
Not as of yet.
No.
Mm-mm. No, I was the beginning of all that stuff with Warren Beatty. It was like,
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, like I said, I could have handled it better, but I wasn't going to let people take advantage of me.
Yeah,
Period.
which you
That was
shouldn't.
it. Yeah. And what I realized was, you know, you get a big movie and you get the list, of people. And I think very quickly it became clear that I was not a bend over type of gal. And they were like, nah, we don't need to put her on the list,
Mm,
and I think there is a lot of people sleeping with their leading ladies or directors, married,
yeah.
and all of that kind of stuff. And it just goes on. I don't know how you would avoid that. What I told in another interview, we were talking about it, and I said it's not really men and women; it's more evolution,
Yeah.
how evolved you are, because the more power you get, people get twisted from it, and it's hard to maintain a humility that is a little more wholesome. There's a
Mm,
lack of wholesomeness, and I think people, during the time, I think people confused my wholesomeness with being stupid, and I could see why it would be. I can see that mistake. You
yeah.
know,
Oh, yeah. Especially when you're starting out, it's like that false
yeah.
naivety comes across. And it's like, no, but I
Yeah.
know who I am as a person. And
Well, also, the movie business isn't particularly humbling. In the
no.
beginning, it kind of blows so much smoke up your ass, you don't know which way is coming or going. So, I must be really wonderful, So, all these people are giving me all this money and attention. I must be a big deal. That's one of the conclusions you get to in the beginning until you kind of get some better focus.
Mm. And now, this whole the Catwoman thing is a thing that I love so much about you. Just because I love how bold and gutsy it just was, how big of a move it was, despite how it may have ended and what may have
Yeah, people
happened.
didn't
The
quite
idea
get
of
it the
it,
way it was intended.
but the idea of it is so great. And I think I saw people talking on Twitter just like, if she had done that and then gotten the role, just the perception I think would have been so the opposite of what it ended up being. Because you
Well,
see people like Ryan Reynolds made a whole fake movie for Deadpool, and then because that did well, they made these movies. And it's like people
the
do
guys
make
get that.
these.
I was talking to Bryan Cranston. I saw him at the screening of Trumbull, where he played the
Hmm,
writer, and he was so positive. He was really a nice guy, and I was
seems
very
like it.
impressed with how good, and authentic he is. And he said, yeah, you need to get back out there, and I looked at him. I said, well, I said, the business isn't as kind to women as you imagine. I mean, it
Yeah.
can let Robert Downey be in prison and bring him back. It can, either the guy who played Kelsey Grammer, Richard Dreyfuss. I mean, all these people had all of this alcoholic, accidents, almost killing people,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And the men are more tolerant, but women not so much. And I said, name one that you think has made that type of comeback. And then he said, well, then you'll be the first. And I thought, oh, that's such a nice thing to say. I really liked his positive attitude.
That is a nice point of view to have.
Yeah.
And I mean, you have been doing a lot of these more indie movies. Is something big budget, like if it came along, would you want to do it?
Well, yeah. I mean, sure. I like working. I do like working. I do like my freedom too.
Yeah.
Like it's not the same now because I don't have to scramble for the money. I'm of retirement age, so
Yep.
I'm very relieved about that, and I can choose. Before it was a scramble because I had a family. I had to earn money. I had to, and God knows what else I could do. It's like, goodness gracious, I'd be an excellent nanny or a housekeeper or a cook. Those three things I would have no problem doing. So if the right one came along, and I do audition for the ones like the pilots, I've never gotten in 25 years an offer for any kind of sitcom or pilot or series in LA, and I'm always baffled by that. And I tell my manager, like, what the hell, WTF, like, what is this? So it's so much water over the dam now. I don't really care because I do keep going.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not defined by the West Coast.
Blade Runner recently got a sequel. I know you spent a couple days on set for it. The same director is doing the Dune remake, another
and I
movie.
begged him to put me in it, but he wouldn't.
You did?
I did.
No?
Yeah. I emailed him. I said, please put me in the sequel, but he didn't.
And that was after
I thought that
he turned up
sucked.
for Blade Runner?
Well, I guess someone, I think the audience would have been pissed if I hadn't have been in it at all.
Yes.
And I think that's what they were trying to solve. But they, Harry can get as old as a roadmap and they'll always make sure there's a part for him. That's what I mean. They look out for their own, but there's not that many women that are powerful enough to look out for their own, so.
No, I feel like recently it's been like Carrie Fisher and Linda Hamilton are kind of the only ones who have got to come back to these franchises so much later as themselves now, like, without having to go through CGI.
And I'm glad to see that too, that is good.
But I mean, how does it feel in general though, just to have these projects that you were a part of, to see people revisiting them now so many years later and trying to find a way to continue or retell that story?
Well,
I imagine it's bittersweet.
It's not. I feel good for the traction I was able to have at particular points. I'm really grateful for that. I got to leave a mark. The fact that it maybe wasn't as big a mark as I would have liked is, it's like apples and oranges. It's like I got to do something, and I feel really good about that. And I'm not like I really always kind of considered acting a job, and I was very practical about it. I wasn't like, oh my God, you know what I mean? I was like, okay, this is what this job is. This is what I need to bring to it. This is how could I best do that? Yeah. So I look at it more practically. And the funny thing is, it's like that rap, when people have a perception of you, and they think, oh, crazy Sean Young or drunk Sean Young or, whatever it is. It's like, I don't have any control over that. And I think what's true is I'm just practical Sean Young. I look at the lay of the land and I see what's possible and I see what isn't possible. And I make the best of the circumstances that I'm in. Yeah. And I think I don't think I can have a better attitude.
I feel like that is the way to combat that.
Day by day, how is this really, and not imagining, woes that aren't there, and not stirring up woes that are long gone. It's like that's where I am today.
And I mean, looking ahead, what would you still like to do that you haven't had the chance to? I mean, you say, a sitcom lead would be, I think, great for you.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, and I think, I think the audience would actually come out to see me. I think that they, I think I'm somebody that people would watch. I'm not sure why the decision makers don't comprehend that, but they don't seem to. There's a lot of changes in the business now too. It's definitely a very different business than it was in the 80s. And a lot of people are moving to Atlanta. That's where I bought a townhouse, which I'm really looking forward to moving into. And there's a lot that I can do in Atlanta in terms of dancing and my own interests. So we'll see how it works.
Production's booming down in Atlanta. I mean, you have Marvel, AMC, Tyler Perry, they all have studios down there.
Yep. Yeah, no, that was part of my thinking,
Get you in a Marvel movie.
That would be fun. Now for a Marvel movie, I might play a bitch. That would be kind of fun. I think I'd be good at playing a bitch or like like one of the evil people, like a Catwoman, like that type of character.
A nice Marvel version. Be a final FU to DC and Warner Brothers.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That would be nice.
And now your kids, they're in their 20s. I'm curious, what do they think about your career? Do they have favorites of your old films or even stuff you're doing recently? Just how do they feel about your resume as a whole?
I think they're very proud of me. And I also think they knew I got an unfair rap at a certain point. I think they think I've had courage, I know they think I've been courageous, and I know they think I've been tough on myself too, like really trying to improve and be a good person, and also I think they know that my interests don't lie just in the movie business. Like I like tap dancing. It's something I spent a lot of time doing before COVID. I was living in New York on 47th and 10th, and I would go to the health club and go over to the dance studio and go up to the screening room. And, it was really fun. And I miss it. And I'm hoping that we open up again and get people's businesses back on track. And, because that's been tough.
It has been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank
a pleasure
you.
Watching you in your new film. And I hope we see even more of you going forward. And I'm happy you seem happy.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, be well, be safe, and thanks for giving me your time.